They set their mind on the frequency that they have to be in to attract what they have to attract. Most people use their imagination, they use it the wrong way. They imagine what won't work. They imagine something bad happening.
What should we imagine more often every day?
We should imagine you should see yourself where you want to be. You got to live there. There's a great book. You may be familiar with Stella Adler's book, The Art of Acting. Stella Adler was a great acting teacher. She was a method acting teacher. She studied under Stanislavski, the Russian acting teacher that originated method acting. Marlon Brando wrote the foreword in her book. He was the first method actor to reach superstardom. He wrote the foreword in her book. Now, Stella Adler never actually wrote a book. A man named Kissel took all of her teaching, all of her lessons for teaching, and he put them into a book. So when you read her book, you're going to her acting classes. And like Shakespeare said, we're all actors, the world's the stage, and that's true. Well, when you reach a goal, you're going to act like you're already there. It's already happened intellectually the second you think about it. It's already happened emotionally when you're emotionally involved with it. So it's only a period of time until it manifests in physical form. But because it's not in physical form, we act like we haven't got it yet. Well, so that's why most people stay stuck, because they're acting like they haven't got it yet. Or if I can't act like that, Lewis would see that I haven't got that result, he'll think I'm phony. I got to quit worrying about what Lewis thinks and start concentrating on what Bob thinks. You see yourself, your imagination, you got to be that person. Goethe said that, great philosopher. He said, before you can do something, you first must be something. So you've got to be it intellectually. You've got to be it emotionally. It's like Solomon says, as a person thinks within their heart, the emotional mind. Well, it's only a period of time then until it manifests physically. That's one of the first laws of the universe, is the perpetual transmutation of energy. Energy is moving into form, always. To form, moving into form, through form, back into form again. So we cause it all to happen the way we think and the way we stay locked into ideas.
How should people be developing their imagination on a daily basis in a positive way?
Well, I think they should take time to image what they want. I have a business partner, Sandy Gallagher, who's a brilliant woman. She images herself as a world champion. Every day, she takes the time and she sees herself as a world champion. She sees herself getting the roses, getting the whole thing. And that's the way you should do it. I think you build the image of what you want. I mean, you obviously imaged this studio before you ever built it.
Right.
I mean, everything you see here was part of the image in your mind. But everything you create twice. Once in here, once out here, So you never get an original painting. You always get a duplicate. The picture's in here.
Wow.
So we have to see ourselves with what we want here. Now we've got an enormous deterrent in our paradigm. We're conditioned genetically and environmentally. And that conditioning is controlling most people's lives. That's why brilliant people are broke. Brilliant people are unhappy. Brilliant people never really accomplish very much. They're absolutely brilliant, but their paradigm is controlling them. It's all about intellect. They're smart people. You got to consider where we come from. A little particle of energy from mom, a little particle of energy from dad comes swimming along. That's the nucleus of us. Then that goes on for 280 days, attracting more energy until you make your debut on the planet. And then you're programmed environmentally by your environment. So everything that's going on is going right into your subconscious mind. So you come out, you're programmed genetically. We don't know how far it goes back, 4 or 5 generations possibly. Like when I was a young man, I had red hair. My mother didn't have red hair. My dad didn't have red hair. I got a brother and sister, and they don't have red hair. Because you think, well, but my mother's father and all his brothers had red hair. So sometimes it jumps a generation. That's why we look like our relatives. It's genetic conditioning. And then there's environmental conditioning. We know almost all welfare recipients are 4th, 5th generation welfare recipients. So this is passed down from generation to generation. Now, unfortunately, we're all exactly the same. We got exactly the same potential. Our spiritual DNA is perfect. But that perfection never expresses itself properly because of this paradigm. It's conditioning in our subconscious mind. You see so many brilliant people and they don't make it. I had a good friend of mine, Milt Campbell. He won the gold medal in decathlon. Milt won in Melbourne in '56. And he won in '52 in Helsinki. When,
Wow.
Bob Mathias won his second gold. He won the gold in '48 and then in '52.
Wow.
Milt told me, if he told me once, he told me 1,000 times, every time I was with him. You know, there was a lot of athletes in schools that were better than me, but they quit. Well, our paradigms get us to quit things
Why?
because of programming. You're programmed. You have to ask yourself, why don't they do that? I did a lot of work with the Prudential of America. In fact, I got stuck in the insurance companies for a number of years. I was so effective at what I was doing. And we raised their sales by, one VP said over $1 billion. And all I was doing, getting them to change their paradigm. I was having them change the way they worked. A paradigm, a culture is a paradigm. Every country has a culture. Every family has a culture. Every company has a culture. Well, in the insurance industry, years ago, they had what they called debit agents. They went around collecting the money. And there would be a little book like the one you're working with that would have a record in there. I remember we had a book on top of our ice box. It was right near our back door. Mr. Spenceley was the insurance man. When I was a little kid, he'd come in, and there was a little book and a little box with some money, and there was always just pennies.
Right.
And he would collect the debit, mark the book, and he'd be on his way. And that's how the insurance business operated. They were called debit agents.
Wow.
Well, then as time moved along, people started to sign a little cheap sheet of paper or something, and they would automatically draw it out of your bank account.
Yeah.
But the agents didn't change. The agents would just go and sell at night when mom and dad were both there, because you couldn't sell mom if dad wasn't there. You couldn't sell dad if mom wasn't there. This was a programming. So here we are in the 70s. Agents are still going to their office every morning, and they wouldn't go out and sell anybody, because you sell at night. They collected their debit through the day. There was no debit to collect. This had been, for years, they were still doing this. And I'd ask them, I'd say, why do you go to your office? Well, you have to go to the office. And they'd be there, and I said, why do you have to go to your office? Well, because we have to go to the office. They didn't know why they had to go.
Yeah.
Then they go to lunch, they go with another agent. I said, did you ever sell another agent any insurance? No. I said, what the hell are you going to lunch with them for? I got them to do this. I said, you got to be like this. You got to be skin to skin with the person before 9 a.m., and you have to ask every person to buy at least $100,000 worth of insurance. You don't even have to sell them. Just ask them to buy. Well, I got them doing that. They were selling more $100,000 policies in a week than they previously sold in a year in almost every office.
Wow.
You see, that's conditioning. That's paradigm. That's the way they were working. They've been doing it for years. Nobody ever thought to change it. Largest insurance company in the world. And the head office was trying to figure out what I was doing, because wherever I went, the sales went crazy. I was showing them how to change paradigm. Your paradigm is your conditioned behavior.
How do we know when we need to change our own paradigm?
You always need to change your own paradigm.
How often are you changing yours?
I'm working on it right now, every day.
Really?
Yeah, I work at it every day. But you should only try and change one or two things at a time.
Don't try to change everything at once.
Well, you can know what your paradigm is. Just study your own behavior. Think of your results. You want to improve your results, don't you?
Sure.
You probably want to earn more money.
Sure.
You probably want this show to be bigger than it is.
Sure, yeah.
How are you going to do that?
You got to change the paradigm.
That's right. You got to change your habitual way of dealing with these things. So you take a look at the results and say, what do I want to change? It's the results are an expression of the paradigm, not the intellect. Right. See, the conscious mind is where all our intellectual information is. You know how to do better than you're doing. You know how to do better than you're doing.
Sure.
I know how to do better than that. Why aren't we doing it? The subconscious is programmed. It's your conscious mind where the intellect is, and that's where our knowing is. Person knows, but they're not doing what they know. Just say, why do you do that? I don't know. Well, you know better, I know. Why are you doing it? I don't know. Well, I know if their paradigm controls their behavior.
Yeah.
So you take a look at your results and you say, what's causing that? So you've got to take back your behavior pattern. Why are you doing that? Because you're programmed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the last time we did a paradigm shift seminar in Los Angeles was a number of 3 or 4 months ago. We gave everybody a ring binder. It's a damn thing's about that thick. And on every page is the same. At the top of the page, you write 10 things you're grateful for.
Uh-huh.
And then there's a statement that you write. I am so happy and grateful now that I know my spiritual DNA is perfect. And that perfection is within me. Every morning, I look for ways to improve my paradigm. I have to write that with my left hand. I'm right-handed. I'm on my 41st day today.
Writing left-handed?
Writing left-handed.
Why?
It's changing the paradigm. I could be just as proficient with my left hand as I am with my right. But I got to change my paradigm. I'm programmed. Now, when you're writing, you just write. You don't think. That's why graphical analysts can tell a lot about your personality through your handwriting.
Yeah. Of sloppy handwriting.
If you're
Don't
writing
read my...
with your left hand and you're right-handed or your non-dominant hand, you got to consciously pay attention to every stroke, every move your hand's making. And the second you stop, it looks like it was Chinese art that you were drawing. But I know through repetition, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. It'll probably take me a year. But I'm learning how strong the paradigm is and how hard it is to change it. So a year from now, I'll probably be as proficient with one hand as I am with the other. The paradigm is nothing but a multitude of habits.
Uh-huh.
They're programmed into your subconscious mind to control your behavior. It's got nothing to do with how smart you are. It's got nothing to do with what your formal education is. It's got nothing to do from which side of the tracks you come from. Mm-hmm. It has to do with your paradigm. The paradigm is a program in your subconscious mind. It's both genetic and environmental that's controlling your behavior. Everyone that can hear my voice knows how to do better than they're doing. And they may wonder, why don't I do it? It's because you're programmed to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
And until you change the program, nothing's going to change. Mm-hmm. Paradigm has to be changed. The paradigm can only be changed one of 2 ways. One is an emotional impact, which doesn't happen often. And the other...
What's the example for that?
An example for that would be 9/11.
Yeah.
Now, 9/11 wasn't an emotional impact for me. It probably wasn't for you. But for people that lived right near there or lost somebody there, that was emotional impact. Mm-hmm. Just something that hits you so hard,
yeah.
It just knocks you off your pins.
Emotional impact.
And repetition, constant spaced repetition. So you take this affirmation of thing I want to change, and you've got to keep repeating it to yourself. You've got to keep seeing it through the repetition of it. Pretty soon it becomes fixed in your mind. Then the thing you're afraid of becomes a habit. You just automatically do it.
Yeah.
Like there's things you do automatically today that you don't even give a thought to.
Yeah.
But at one time you're afraid to do it.
Sure.
So I think that's how you keep changing. Thought is thought is the preamble to everything. Thought waves are cosmic waves. They penetrate all time and space. I had the good fortune of working with Ed Mitchell. He was the captain of the lunar landing module on one of the Apollo flights. Mm. And he did thought transference exercises from the other side of the moon.
Wow.
With Sherman and Ford here on Earth. They're all gone now. But you're doing thought transfer exercises all the time. And we just have not got to a point where we really understand that. Like if I dial your number, I'm on your frequency. Mm-hmm. I will never get Tiffany's phone to ring.
Right.
I only get your phone to ring. If I take a picture of Tiffany and I send it to a friend of mine in Singapore, simultaneously with me hitting send here in Los Angeles, they've got it in Singapore. You know that.
Yeah.
Well, thought works the same way. I could be thinking of you, I'll trigger cells in your brain. And those cells, if you're not thinking, those cells will start jiggling and you'll start thinking of me. Maybe I'll phone you and say, this is the damnest thing, I was just thinking of you.
Yeah, happens all the time.
Well, we got to understand what's happening. You think on frequencies. Now, this has to do with goals. When you set a goal, you have to flip your brain onto the frequency that the good that you desire or that you need for that goal is there. Uh-huh. So most people don't make the decision because they don't know how to get it. You don't have to know how to get it. That's why von Braun said when Kennedy asked him how to get to the moon, the will to do it. You're going to make the decision. You don't make the decision when you've got enough money or when you've got all the resources. You make the decision. When you make the decision, you flip your brain onto a higher frequency, and then you're on the frequency, you begin to attract everything on that frequency. That's where the law of attraction comes in. See, the secret brought out the law of attraction, but it didn't explain it. None of them explained it. I didn't even explain it. I didn't get the time. Most people don't even understand it. You can only attract according to the frequency that you're operating on. Attraction is a secondary law. The primary law is the law of vibration. That's a primary law of the universe. Everything in this room is moving. Nothing rests. This table's moving. It just appears to be still. The law of vibration decrees everything moves, nothing rests. Well, when you think, you put you onto a frequency. You can only attract what's on that frequency. You think about a person a lot. Just concentrate on that person will phone you. Or you'll bump into them on the street. Because
you're thinking about it,
the law of attraction takes over. You could attract to you what you're in harmony with. Well, when you set goals, you got to see yourself already there. That's called a mindset. A lot of people talk about mindset, they don't understand what it is. They set their mind on the frequency that they have to be in to attract what they have to attract. And that's how the goal moves into form. You get emotionally involved, you're so intellectually and emotionally involved. The only problem is you don't have it on a physical plane yet, but it will manifest in time. We just don't know what the time is. So you're guessing at the time you reach your goal.